Shalom Aleichem, sweetest friends. This year should be a special schutz for Moshe Yudah ben Peshadina, and we are continuing the previous year. In the previous year, we saw the Beis Shmuel in Eben Ezer, Simedal, Sifkat and Lametes, brought in the Shmaitza and Shmaitza Beis, Perek Tesvav. The Maggid Mishnah says that we paskin man de machshir ba machshir bevita. Since we're machshir, her when she says that when she's pregnant, we ask her who the father is. She says he was a kosher. We're also machshir the daughter. So why is that? It's because Minatar, we don't need her testimony. Because the kid's going to be kosher anyway. Because Mamzer Suffolk, Yavo Bakal. And this kid's a Mamzer Suffolk. So the Durabanan, the kid is also Lavo Bakal. So the Durabanan, we already believe her. So Frek the Beis Shmuel, wait a second, we pass like Rabbi Gamliel that she's believed even Baro Psulim. So what do you mean without her Adis, the kid's kosher? No, Baro Psulim, without her Adis, the kid is puzzle. The kid is a Mamzer Menator, is a Mamzer Vadai Menator, because it's a Hachra of Rov. And the Maggid Mishnah's reason of anyway the kid's kosher without her Adis doesn't apply. So he answers, Beis Shmuel answers, that there's not a Rov Gomer here. Why? Because there's another tzad that maybe she went to him. If she went to him and he's the suffix, so kol kavur kamechta mechta dam, it's 50-50. So you see that in a case of, and if it's 50-50, then it's not a vadai anymore. The kid's not a vadai mamzer. So even if it's a rov psulim etzla, but still, maybe she went to him, and it's only 50-50. So since that's the case, the kid's going to be a suffix mamzer even without a redus, and therefore minatorah, and therefore you believe her midrabanan. Beautiful. But what do you see from this Beis Shmuel? You see from this Beis Shmuel that if it's a suffix kavur, you follow the suffix kavur. Here we don't know if it's kavur or not, but you follow the suffix kavur and you make it a suffix. And we explained that that's correct, that you follow the suffix kavur and you make it a suffix. And the only thing is that in general, and the only thing is that the Rashba argues and says we're not mitchashay with the Safek Kavur. If it's a Safek Kavur, you follow the Rov. And then we are mitarates that the MS, even the Beis Shmuel agrees, that if it's a Safek Kavur, you follow the Rov. He agrees with the Rashba. The only thing is that the Beis Shmuel holds that the suffix kavur is enough to make it that the rov is not a rov vadai. And here we're talking about a case where you need a rov vadai. Right? The kasha was either there's a rov vadai because it's rov psulam etzla, and the answer is no. We have a suffix kavur which makes it not a rov vadai. Why? Because this miut is command isa. The only time you follow a rov, according to the Beis Shmuel, to make it a mamzer, make the child a mamzer, if it's when it's a rov that doesn't have a miut. But here, this suffix kavua is enough to make the miut a miut is command isa even after the rov. And therefore, once you have a miut is command isa, Beis Shmuel holds that the child can no longer be considered a vadai mamzer. Because the moment the miut is not wiped out by the rov, that is enough to create a suffix that the child is not going to be considered a vadai mamzer. That is a very, very, very tiny encapsulation of the previous shir. So now the Shev Shmaitza asks on the Beis Shmuel from an open Gemara that the Gemara says on Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says that we don't believe this woman that the man is a kosher man, and he compares it to a shvuya. That just like a shvuya, we don't believe her that the men were kosher, so to a muberes, a pregnant woman. So asks the Gemara and Rabbi Yoshua, there's a difference. You know why we don't believe her when she's a shvuya? Because it's rov psulim etzla. Mashenkin and muberes is not rov psulim etzla. So how can you bring a raya from shvuya? So the Gemara answers, no, this is a siyot Rabbi Shimon Levi who says, l'divrei machshir ba machshir afilu b'rov psulim. That the one who's machshir, in other words, Rabbi Gamliel, he's machshir even b'rov psulim. Even if it's rov psulim, he's nevertheless machshir. If she says that he was a kosher. So since Rabbi Gamliel's machshir fil rov psulim, so Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi had a good point from Shavuya, that we should passel this woman lekehuna when there's rov psulim, just like we passel lekehuna a Shavuya barov psulim. You, Rabbi Gamliel, hold that if it's rov psulim, we're machshir her lekehuna, and we assume she remains kosher. How can you say that? Look at Shavuya. Shavuya is rov psulim, and we passel her. So to this woman. So that's the Gemara's kasha. So says the Shmaitza, I don't understand the Beis Shmuel now. According to the Beis Shmuel, we still have a kasha. How can you compare Mu'beres to a Shavuya? Because Legabe Mu'beres, it's not a rov gamor. Because maybe she went to him. And if she went to him, it's kavua. But Legabe Shavuya, it is a rov gamor. They went to her and it's rov psulim. So according to the Shmaitz, according to the Beis Shmuel, that we're choshesh for the tzad, that she went to him and therefore it's 50-50, then how can Rabbi Yoshua compare the two? How can he compare Mu'beres to a Shavuya? Shavuya is a real rov, it's a rov psulim. Whereas Mu'beres is also a tzad of the miyut, that there's also a tzad of kol kavua kamechta mechta dami. So since there's a tzad of kol kavua kamechta mechta dami, therefore we should not passel the Vlad and her, like Rabbi Gamliel. And that's different than Shavuya that we do passel because that's a rov gamor. So how does Rabbi Yeshua say, no, they're both passel, both a Shavuya and a Mu'beres? No, Shavuya is psula because it's rov psula metzla, and a Mu'beres should be ksheira. Why should a Mu'beres be ksheira? Because maybe she went to him and it's kol kavua kamechta mechta dami. So how can Rabbi Yeshua compare the two? But based on what we said, it's beautiful. Because when the Beis Shmuel says that maybe she went to him and there's a miyut, he didn't mean that there's no din rov at all. He agrees with the Rashba that there is a din rov. Because even if it's safek kavua, it's shaykh to talk about a din rov. All he said was that this rov doesn't make it a mamzer vadai. Since it's a miyut, it's command isa. The miyut is a miyut that remains even after the rov. It's not a rov ma'aliyah. It's not a rov that wipes out the miyut. So you're right, this rov can paskin in a case of safek, but it's still a safek. And since it's still a safek, then the mamzer is a mamzer safek. And since again, what was the Beis Shmuel's case where we saw that she's pregnant, and we believe her to say that it was a kosher. And why do we believe her? Because Minatorah, it's only a mamzer safek. So Minatorah is mutar lava b'koliv without her, and we believe her about the dirabanan. And the Beis Shmuel says no, but it's a vadai v'mamzer Minatorah, because there's a rov. Because Rabbi Gamliel's machshir even b'rov psulim. Since it's rov psulim, it's a rov, and therefore it's a vadei mamzer. And he says, no, it's not a vadei mamzer, because maybe she went to him, and it says kol kavua kamechta mechta dami. So this doesn't mean, as it might seem from the Beis Shmuel, that we really think that it's 50-50. It just means that it's no longer a rov ma'aliyah. It's no longer a rov that wipes out the miyut. Once it's no longer a rov that wipes out the miyut, then the kid is not a mamzer, even without her testimony. And that's what he means So if that's the case, then we can go back to the answer the Shmaitz's Kasha and the Beis Shmuel. The Shmaitz said to the Beis Shmuel, there's a difference between Mu'beres and Shvuya. Because Shvuya is Rov Psulim Etzla, and we follow that Rov. Whereas by Mu'beres, according to you, it's Safek Kavua. So what's the answer? The answer is that in the sugi of the Gemara, where the Shev Shmaitz is asking from, we're not talking about the Vlad. We're talking about the mother. We're talking about Hechsher Isha Atzma. And there we don't need Be'er HaSafek. There we don't need a Rov Mochetz. We don't need a Rov Ma'alya. We don't need an absolute Rov. There, when it comes to pasling the woman, any Rov will do. Only when it comes to the child, in order to make the child a Mamzer Vadai, for that you can't have any Kavu involved. The moment you have a Safek Kavu, he's not a Mamzer Vadai. That's the case of the Beis Shmuel. But the case of the Gemara is when you're dealing with the woman. And when you're dealing with the woman, you don't need a Rov Vadai. You don't need a Rov Ma'alya. All you need is any Rov. Any Rov will do. So therefore, since we concluded that was the Yisod, that the Beis Shmuel holds of a Rov if there's a Safek Kavua. He says you do follow the Rov, just the Safek Kavua makes it that Mir Command Isa. So Mir Command Isa, so therefore the Rov no longer makes a Vadai. And therefore the kid is going to be kosher even without her testimony. So once she testifies, she's only testifying about a Dirabanan because Midaraisa is a Safek Mamzer. But in the case of the Gemara, when Rabbi Yoshua makes a comparison between the Shavuya and the Mu'beres, it's a different story there. Because in the case of the Gemara, we're talking about the woman herself. And in order to pass the woman herself, so the Sheikh Shmaitz said there's a difference. Shvuya, there's a Rov, so it's a Vadai, and Mu'beres, it's not, it's 50-50. So how can you compare the two? No. Mu'beres is also a Rov. Mu'beres is also a Rov. It's not a Rov Vadai, but to pass her Rov is enough. So Shvuya is comparable to Mu'beres. Shvuya is a Rov Vadai. Mu'beres is a Rov with a maybe she went to him, so it's 50-50, but it's still a Rov. There's still a Rov that odds are, because that's 50-50, and then if she went to him, it's 50-50, and then if he went to her, if it's a Rov Psulim, then that already tips the scales in favor of the fact that statistically she's probably Psula. And V'yenech Hinami, so it's not a Vadai, but their Rov is enough. So it's not, the Gemara is not a Kash in the Beis Shmuel. Beis Shmuel is fine. Beis Shmuel only said, it doesn't say you follow a Safek Kavua. He just says a Safek Kavua makes it that the Rov doesn't create a Vadai. And in order to make a Mamzer, you need a Vadai Mamzer. So the moment you're talking about the child, and you have a Safek Kavua, maybe she went to him, and therefore it's a Safek Kavua, it's 50-50. So you're right, there's still a Rov that the child is puzzle, because if he went to her, that tips the scales. But if it's a Rov Psulim, but it doesn't matter, because all we're trying to do is create a matzav where there's no, to answer the Magid Mishnah, all we're trying to do is make sure that there's no Vadei Mamzer. And if there's a Safek Kavua, that makes that it's not a Vadei Mamzer anymore. You're right, you have a Rov. You have a Rov. But that's not a Vadei. A Rov is only a Vadei if it wipes out the Miyut. And in our case, it doesn't wipe out the Miyut, because maybe she went to him, and that makes it 50-50, and if she went to him, it's going to be 50-50. And that's enough that even though there's a Rov, that the child is puzzled, because if he went to her, then it's Rov Psulim. In most cases, it's going to be that and altogether, if you tally everything up together, 50-50, if she went to him, and then if he went to her, that it's Rov Psulim. So altogether, all told, the child is puzzled. But not Vadai. And there you need a Vadai, we're talking about the child. But in the Gemara, we're talking about the woman. The woman herself, any Rov will do. So the Rov of Shui is a Rov Vadai. There's no the Miyut Command Alessa, and the Rov of Mu'beres is, you're right. Maybe she went to him. But there's a Rov in most cases. If she went to him, it's 50-50. If he went to her, it's Rov that's Psulim. So then she's Psula, so you can compare the two. Al Kol Panim, we see a Chiddush, like we spoke about in the previous shir, that another nafkamina in Miyuta Kamandalesa, that only when it's Miyuta Kamandalesa is there going to be a Mamzer Vadai, but not Miyuta Kamanda Isa. And there's a lot more to say, so I hope HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us the koach and the moch to say it. Amen v'amen. Shalom, shalom, sweetest and most beloved friends.